Sorry for not saying anything, I was yawning just that. I chose a really... Oh dear! I chose a really bad time to yawn. What is up, guys? Viper for Life here, and I am back. So, we are going to be doing a review of the BMW Z8. Now, I know that there are a few people who don't like this car, and there are a few people who like this car. Mostly for its styling. Probably. Now, I've been driving this for about 2 minutes or so, and my thoughts on it, as of now, it brakes good. It's a bit tail happy, but a lot of BMWs are, so. But, while it does brake good, and it is actually quite fast for what it is, it really can get a move on. It does feel a bit heavy and a bit Aston Martin-like, really. It feels more GT car than usable sports car. That's what it feels like. But it looks good, but I like the way it looks. I really do. Whoa. It's like Jeremy said, it's everywhere. It doesn't know its purpose. It doesn't know what it is or what it wants to be. It's honestly, it is really quite. It does feel a bit heavy in some of these corners, like this one here. It feels like they tried to make a Z car M3 style, and it hasn't worked. It really hasn't. But I don't like the interior, mostly because all the dials are over there in the middle of the car. I can't. Who at BMW thought that that was a good idea? I hate it when car designers put their instruments all the way over there. What purpose? Oh dear, brake late, I braked far too late. It's bad because there's a lot of glare because I have my brightness all the way up, so I can't see the braking line very well through there. But I can't understand who at BMW thought that was a good idea. Why? Why there? Because it means that you're gonna have to look over to see what revs you're at or how fast you're going. It means you can't see right in front of you, and that's not very safe. It may handle really well, but it still feels a bit heavy, and the brakes kind of fade after a while. And I also don't get the steering wheel. Sorry, I'm using manual with clutch, and I couldn't get my mind to change up already. Genuinely though, what is up with that steer? It's like BMW tried to make a '70s coupe or roadster. It's like they tried to make a heritage that never existed. I've never seen a BMW where the wheel was like that, right? It's like they tried to make a past that was never a past. There never has been a wheel, not really anyway, that looked like the one on this BMW. I get that they were trying to be different, and I get that 2000 was a different time. But even for 2000, this steering wheel doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, and sometimes it understeers. But that was kind of my bad there. But I can't see. And those mirrors are kind of, I don't like the way they look, and they're a bit far. It's odd, but it's kind of true. They feel a bit far away. Sounds good though. And also the suspension's quite soft. And you know what? I've decided what this looks a bit like. It looks like that new Miata. The, I believe it's the FD one, I believe it's called. I might have gotten mixed that up for the code name for the RX-7, but point is, it kind of looks a bit like a giant Miata. Because whenever I see that ghost, my mind just immediately goes to say, Miata, Miata, Miata. It looks like the new one. That's what it looks like. And that's not a bad thing, because it looks good, but it's like BMW were trying to make a car that never existed. A car from their heritage that never existed. That was never there. That's what that's what it looks like. It has a good amount of power, almost 400 horsepower and over 300 pounds-feet of torque. So, really, it's quite powerful. Now, from the sound of it, it probably has a 4-liter V8. It's definitely a V8 of sorts. And from the way it drives, I bet you this thing weighs 3,500, 3,700 pounds. Somewhere around that. But it's like they tried to make a car, or tried to remake a car that never existed, that was never in their heritage. That's what it's a bit like. They've tried to make something that was never there, that was not in their heritage. And that's the interesting bit. It's like they tried to recreate, like modernize a car from their heritage. That was never there, but they think there was one. If I'm wrong on that, comment below if I'm wrong on that, and, send me a link to the car that's a bit like this. But from what I can remember, from my knowledge, there hasn't been a BMW like the Z8. And I'm kind of glad about that, because it's like they wanted, it's almost like they're sad. It's like, it's really hard to explain. But it's like when someone says, if they were around at that time period, they wish they could have done something of the time. That's what it's like with this car. It's BMW saying they wish they made a car like this in the 60s or the 70s, or early 70s for that matter. Somewhere around that time period. This is like a salute to, this car is a salute to a car that they wish existed that never did. This car is BMW saluting to a car that they wish they made in that time period but never did. That's what it is. It's good, but the suspension's a bit soft, the brakes fade a little bit, and it's a bit heavy. It doesn't know what it wants to be. But it does know it wishes it had another one like it. Before itself, it wishes there was another one of a older time period like it. But there isn't. There hasn't been a BMW like it, and I can't understand the steering wheel. The steering wheel, that's what gives it off, though, and the styling. This is like BMW saying they wish they made a predecessor to this. Right now, because I've said that, a lot of BMW fans are going to be like, oh, well, the Z1, and, the one with the weird doors, and all the ones that were like, the spiritual, the predecessors behind it. That's not what I meant, though. I meant like a spiritual predecessor. What I mean by that is, look at the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. When you see that, car nuts like me will say, oh, well, the spiritual predecessor to that is the Gullwing. Because really, it kind of is. But that's what it's like with this. BMW made a car that it's supposed to be like a spiritual successor to a car that never existed. That's the truth of it. It's weird, but it is. Because this doesn't look like a... Like, technically this is an original-ish design. Even though it looks quite a lot like the new Miata, but that's not the point. I'm gonna slow it down a bit so I can talk more. But it's like BMW were trying to recreate an old race car or an old prototype car of some sort. And I'm sure that there is one that's somewhat like this, but there's not a spiritual successor that I know of that's like this. But that's what I just don't get. Why would BMW make a car like this? What? The Z8, technically, is a Z car. But it doesn't feel like a Z car. It feels like a special edition. It feels like a one-off. That's what it feels like. That's just what it feels like. It's hard to explain, but it feels like BMW were trying to, you know, salute a car that never existed. It's like when people say they wish they could have been born in that time period to see what it was like. You know, to see what the times were like back then, what people were like back then. That's what this car is like. It's like a salute to a time period that did exist, but to a car of that time period that didn't. In my opinion, that's what this car is like. I may be reading into the lines, as they say, or reading more into it than what is actually there, but that's what it feels like. Because it doesn't feel like a Z8, it feels like something special. It almost feels like a concept car, to be honest. A tribute to one car that never existed of the past. But that's what this is like. It's like BMW saying they wish a car like the Z8, its spiritual they wish they could have made a spiritual predecessor to the Z8 in the 60s or the 70s, but never did. And what this car is like, or what this car, if you ask me, what it is basically that car that didn't exist. That's what it's like. Because we all know what the Jaguar E-Type is. This is... Okay, so keep that in mind. What this Z8 is basically what they wish they could have done in the 60s or 70s. What the Z8 is BMW's E-Type. Except not as pretty and not as, technically speaking, not as good to drive. But it's a thought. It's a sort of, we wish we could have done it. This car is a wish we could have made an E-Type, but from BMW of that time period. Now, I know BMW enthusiasts will say, well, they did. That's not what I mean. Not like an old, before the E30 and before, no. What I mean is like a Z8, like a convertible. But that was an E-Type competitor. That's what this car is like. This car is basically a tribute to a car that they didn't build, that they wish they built or put on sale if they did build a car like this. And I know my reviews tend to go a bit off topic from a review, but this is how I do my reviews. That's what's like. It's a tribute to a time period that existed, but a car of it that didn't exist. Because I can't get with that steering wheel. It's weird. It's supposed to look retro from the looks of it, but it's supposed to look like something that they've already done, but never did. This interior, actually, is a bit like that. I still don't like where the dials are placed. That's just that's a dumb place to put it, or put both of them for that matter. But this car is a tribute to a spiritual predecessor that never existed. That's only in its dreams. That's what it is. That's why we can't fathom out what it is. Because it's not a sports car. It's not a muscle car, it's not a GT cruiser, it's none of that. It's a tribute to an idea they never continued with. It's a tribute to an idea they never continued developing. It's kind of this. The Z8 is a bit of a sorry letter to a car that they wish they put into production but never did. It's like when small automakers do those reproductions of a Shelby Cobra or AC Cobra or stuff like that. That's what this is like, but from BMW. But of a car that never existed, but they wish they did. It's a car that they wish they made in that time period. It's sort of a rebirth of a car that never existed. It's what it's supposed to be. It's a modern-day cruiser, a modern-day classic, if you will. That's what this is. But no one can hark back to the predecessor of this car. To the spiritual one anyway, because it never had one. It's a sorry letter to an imaginary car that they never foresaw, that they never continued developing to actually make a real car. What this car is a sorry letter. It's a sorry letter and a rebirth of what could have been, and what should have been, if you ask me, of the 60s and 70s, but they never continued with. That's what the Z8 is. It's not a predecessor to the Z4 or the Z3. It's none of that. It's the rebirth and the sorry letter of a BMW they wish they made. That's what it is. Anyway, guys, if you enjoy these I guess it's not really educational, more sort of ranty. Well, not a rant, but frankly, long reviews. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you all later. And if you now know more about cars, or know more about the Z4 and the next cars that I review, you know, brand image and whatnot, yeah, you're welcome.